Russia's deputy foreign minister, Alexander Grushko, called Steadfast Defender the irrevocable return of the alliance to Cold War hostility. Another spokesman for the
Oh,
Russian government,
I wonder why. Who is guilty of that? I don't even know. I love the way they have drawn the chests, of the dummies. It looks so ridiculous, man. Well, man, they have planned like literally everything, every like stage of the conflict, man. What's up, team? My name is Tom, and today I'm gonna react why NATO's largest mobilization terrifies Russia. As you know, guys, Russia started a war in Ukraine not so long ago, and because of that, all the countries in the NATO alliance decided to put more money in creating more weapons and recruiting more people into army. So let's go and react and watch.
Off Steadfast Defender 2024. An exercise so massive it's been dubbed the biggest military shuffle since the legendary.
It happened in Poland, not so long ago.
This isn't just any routine drill, it's a historical behemoth marking NATO's grandest display in the post-Cold War era. With new members on board and tensions in Europe simmering, this exercise...
For people who don't know, NATO alliance was created after the Second World War to not allow Third World War to happen. Because when the Second World War happened, there was situations where European countries had to like surrender to strongest countries like Soviet Union because they were alone. There was nobody backing them. And after the Second World War, as I said, they gathered, they created this alliance, and they said that after this, if any NATO member will be in trouble, all NATO members should go to war, right?
Has all the ingredients of a high-stakes military drama. For the first time, Sweden flexed its muscles alongside NATO powers as a fully fledged member, expanding the scope and intensity of the alliance's maneuvers.
It happened right after Russia started the war, because Finland and Sweden has the border with Russia.
In today's video, we're diving deep into Steadfast Defender 2024. We'll break down the nuts and bolts of the exercises, explore Russia's chilly reception, and unpack the strategic moves that have led NATO to ramp up its game. Buckle up, it's going to be an intriguing ride through modern military history. Let's get started with a quick overview. Steadfast Defender began on January 22nd and will end on May 31st. It involves all 32 NATO countries, including Sweden, which formally joined the alliance as the operation was underway. 90,000 troops will take part in this drill, which will span the entirety of NATO's territory from North America to the Russian border. General Christopher Cavoli, NATO's Supreme Allied Commander Europe, stated that Steadfast Defender would be a demonstration of the alliance's ability to reinforce the entire Euro-Atlantic.
This is well-timed like mobilization. I'm telling you guys, this thing is well-timed because like we need to, in my opinion, we need to let Russia know that if they come here, to Europe, they're gonna pay a big price, for that.
Atlantic area, including through transatlantic movements of forces to counter the threat of a near-peer adversary. In other words, this exercise would simulate a combined response to a Russian attack on a NATO country, almost certainly in Eastern Europe. Poland, the Baltic, Germany, Norway, and Romania are therefore major areas for the exercise's operations, as all of these places are considered vulnerable to a Russian attack. In outlining the overall goal of the operation,
look at the tank, my God.
Exercise Steadfast Defender 2024 will be a clear demonstration of our unity, our strength, and our determination to protect each other, to protect our values and the rules-based international order. American units participating in the Steadfast Defender exercise include the US 2nd Fleet, Green Berets, and Marines. According to the US Department of Defense, over 50 total naval assets are taking part in Steadfast Defender, along with more than 1,100 combat vehicles. These vehicles include over 150 tanks, 500 infantry fighting vehicles, and 400 armored personnel carriers. Aircraft included are F-35s, FA-18s, F-15s, and Harrier jets.
All due respect, but I think Russia cannot like compare their like naval and then air power against like NATO's air power, man. Like this is so hard.
Helicopters. 20,000 troops from the United Kingdom are also among the participants. 16,000 of these are from the British Army, with much of the activity coming from the 7th Light Mechanized Brigade Combat Team, which has taken its tanks, artillery, and helicopters with it. Other British Army units in Steadfast Defender 2024 include the Commando Helicopter Force, 16th Air Assault Brigade, and 16th Armoured Brigade Combat Team. 2,000 sailors and 400 Royal Marines from the Royal Navy are participating as well. A British carrier strike group centered on one of the 2 Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers and its assault...
Man, those aircraft carriers are game changer. Imagine this, you don't have to have an airfield, basically. You just like swim where you want, right? And just launch the aircraft from there, man. This is such a game changer cheat code, man.
Fighters is taking
I wonder
part in
who,
exercises in the North
who's the
Atlantic,
guy who
North
invented
Sea,
the
and
aircraft
Baltic.
carriers?
15,000 of the troops in Steadfast Defender are from Poland, 10,000 are from Germany, an additional 5,000 are Dutch. The Steadfast Defender exercises are meant to be the first large-scale test of NATO's new defense plans that were approved at the Alliance's summit in Vilnius this year. According to NATO, Steadfast Defender 2024 is based on a fictitious Article 5 scenario, triggered by a fictitious attack against the Alliance launched by a near-peer adversary. The Alliance's official website has detailed a timeline that offers an overview of all the sub-exercises in Steadfast Defender and their purposes. According to NATO, the first part of Steadfast Defender is focused on securing the Atlantic up to the Arctic. Live maritime exercises and amphibious assault drills are a big focus for this phase. The second part of Steadfast Defender is focused on moving troops through Europe. Troops and equipment will be deployed rapidly across national borders as part of this phase. The exercise began on January 22nd in Norfolk, Virginia. That city hosts NATO's Joint Command Force Norfolk, which is coordinating the first phase. American forces would be departing from there on that date, while Canadian forces would set off from Nova Scotia soon afterward. Between February 11th and 20th, NATO conducted maritime live exercises to test its ability to secure lines of reinforcement and communication across the Atlantic. According to the Alliance, these drills, called MARCOM LIVEX, were conducted primarily off the Spanish coast. The next set of exercises, called Brilliant Jump, took place between February 12th and 28th. These tested the NATO response force's ability to plan and execute rapid deployments, including standby readiness during peacetime. These exercises were based in Germany and Poland. Then came Joint Warrior, led by the United Kingdom, where it primarily took place between February 24th and March 3rd. These drills emphasized maritime and offshore maneuvers in conjunction with air and land operations.
Man, scary, man. Scary. Imagine, how organized they're gonna be, if Russia comes, because if you compare it to Russian forces, of course, Russian forces will have more experience, in battlefield, right? Because they fight in Ukraine, but at the same time, they have a very poor planning of the, of the strategy, man. How many times I have heard, how Russians, throw a lot of people just to, rush to take over one height, let's say, and because of bad planning, they just get smashed, like minced meat.
Exercise Dragon 24 came between February 25th and March 14th. This was led by Poland as part of a unilateral effort to train all branches of its armed forces to respond to crises. About 20,000 total troops from 10
look
NATO
at that
countries
plateau, my
participated in
gosh.
Dragon 24. All of the 15,000 Polish troops in Steadfast Defender took part in the exercise. Sabre Strike 24 just started in April 2024 and is being led by US Army Europe and Africa. This set of exercises is also part of Part 2 and takes place from April 8th to 30th in Germany, Poland and Lithuania, and it's putting emphasis on rapid deployment and cold weather training in the Baltic area. From February 29th to March 14th, NATO troops participated.
I love the way they have drawn the chests, of the dummies, it looks so ridiculous, man.
In Trojan Footprint.
Imagine somebody attacking you with this kind of chest, man.
A drill that focused on improving the integration and interoperability of member states' respective special operations forces. Bulgaria, Georgia, Germany, Greece, North Macedonia, and Romania were the main host countries for this drill. About 2,000 special operations troops from Albania, Bulgaria, France, Georgia, Greece, Italy, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Portugal, Romania, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States participated in the exercise. The United States contributed about 900 of those troops. The Green Berets were known to participate in airborne operations alongside Greek
Wow,
paratroopers
man.
as part of the exercise. The Trojan Footprint
Oh my
exercise has
gosh,
occurred
it's such
annually
an
since
adventure to jump like
2002.
that.
The Crystal Arrow set of exercises took place between March 4th and 15th. Latvia was the host country for these drills, and the Latvian Mechanized Infantry Brigade led them. The purpose was to practice alert procedures and evaluate the readiness of NATO's multinational battle group Latvia. The Nordic response drills occurred between March 3rd and 14th. As the name implies, the purpose of this drill was to increase NATO's ability to address challenges in the extreme north. Finland and Sweden's entry into the alliance expanded these exercises.
Looks like a war game.
20,000 troops, 50 ships, and 110 aircraft from 14 NATO countries. The next on NATO's list is Defender 24, scheduled for the span of April 8th to May 31st, and organized by the United States European Command. This exercise involves deployment of forces over distances stretching from North America to US EUCOM's area of responsibility, with Northern Europe as the primary focus point. Defender 24 tests NATO's ability to receive, stage, and deploy these forces in Europe. Defender 24 is the foundation for other exercises like Sabre Strike 24, Immediate Response 24, and Swift Response 24.
Well, man, they have planned like literally everything, every like stage of the conflict, man. If it starts, what we're gonna do, how to like get fuel and other vehicles to the front line more effectively, how to like quickly like send help to the conflict line, you know, like, man, this is
Immediate response will
such a
occur between
planning, you
April
know,
21st and May 31st.
next level.
The United States will lead this exercise that's designed to boost the interoperability of NATO countries. The Hungarians will lead the Brave Warrior exercises between May 1st and 22nd and will include all forces in NATO's multinational battle group Hungary. Its purpose is to increase the training for this battle group to lead.
Only problem is that like it's a problem, and at the same time if they do it, it's gonna be very nice. People like these soldiers, they have to learn English language. There's no way around it, you know, because if there's like gonna be soldiers from different countries, let's say Polish and Romanians, they need to like communicate somehow, you know. So English language should be a must.
And plan and conduct
Must be a
shoot. Spring Storm will take place in Estonia between May 12th and 31st. It's that country's largest annual military drill and will be led by one of the Estonian Defence Forces infantry divisions. It will focus on joint defensive operations with other NATO units. The aforementioned Swift Response 24 will occur between May 14th and June 14th, therefore going over the time
look at
technically
that.
allotted to the broader Steadfast Defender
Like,
exercise.
oh man.
The United States will lead this drill and focus on joint airborne operations. Poland, the Baltic states, and Georgia will be the primary staging grounds. Finally, there is the German-led Grand Quadriga exercise, set to take place between April 30th and July 30th, running well over the allotted time for Steadfast Defender. Germany and Lithuania will be the primary staging grounds. The Grand Quadriga drills will focus on deterrence and NATO's defense posture. Taken together, we see that the Steadfast Defender 2024 exercise will simulate multiple types of combat across the entirety of NATO's territory, implying that it will test the alliance's ability to fight a war across a broad front resembling the World Wars. Though NATO made carefully worded statements to stress that Steadfast Defender was not directed against any country, Russia is the only one that fits the bill of being able to...
Well, it makes perfect sense. It isn't China. It isn't like nobody else, you know. We have a very aggressive neighbor over here, you know, who wants to like take over. What, you know, to what was the saying, you know, to get peace, get ready to war for war or something like that, you know, because in the Second World War, there was this moment before the Second World War where Great Britain allowed Germany to take over Czechoslovakia, and because of that, they thought, oh, they're gonna like calm down and everything's gonna be cool. But after that, they thought, okay, they allowed us to take Czechoslovakia, we're gonna take even more, we're gonna take Poland, we're gonna take France, what you gonna do? And they were not able to do anything, basically. It finished as a Dunkirk, a catastrophe, you know, when the soldiers, British soldiers were pushed to the beach, like 300,000 soldiers pushed to the beach. Man, this is mad. Like, and they barely got home, you know.
To create the scenario the alliance was training to counter. A NATO official...
By the way, guys, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell for notifications, like and I'm encouraging you to leave comments, and I would love to talk with you guys in the comment section about this topic.
Quoted by the US Department of Defense, admitted that the alliance was closely watching the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and incorporating its lessons into
everything
plans
was
to
destroyed,
improve training, capabilities, and innovation.
Everything.
Policymakers in Moscow were not fooled either. Before the exercises began, Russia's foreign ministry claimed that NATO was conducting a demonstration of force on Russia's doorstep. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Alexander Grushko, called Steadfast Defender the irrevocable return of the alliance to Cold War hostility. Another spokesman for the Russian government.
I wonder why. Who is guilty of that? I don't even know.
Sekov said that the exercises were quite unprecedented and that NATO was making no attempt to hide the fact that they were aimed against Russia.
Of course, man. Of course, man. Like their propaganda, like Russian propaganda, is talking about how they want to conquer like Ukraine. After that, they want to conquer like Baltic states. After that, they like we need to like fight against Poland. You know, like this is ridiculous, guys. Like just turn on the TV and see what your propaganda is saying, man.
And Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev warned on social media that there was a potential for a big war with NATO and said that Steadfast Defender 2024 came as a result of Western politicians who have shit their pants. Their mediocre NATO generals
for sure, man. This is like the mentality of a bully, man. Literally bully, you know. They're not accepting their own like that they are the aggressors, right? They are not accepting that. They think everything is okay, man. We're doing what we want, and if you're like against us, then you're like shitting your pants or something, you know, like and this is because of your politicians. It's not because of us. It's all because of your actions. This is mad.
Russia would never strike first against a NATO country, but that it would be prepared to respond to an attack against its own integrity or increased NATO association with Ukraine. Not coincidentally, Vladimir Putin himself traveled to Kaliningrad shortly after Steadfast Defender began. According to the Institute for the Study of War, the Russians have done more than complain about Steadfast Defender. They have tried to undermine it. On January 20th, before the exercises began, the ISW accused Russia of conducting an information operation to misrepresent the NATO exercise. According to the ISW, the Kremlin's information operation against Steadfast Defender came in several dimensions. Firstly, it tried to portray the drills as a provocation on the part of NATO. This cannot be the truth because the exercise is based on a simulated Article 5 scenario. Article 5 in the North Atlantic Treaty is by law defensive in nature. The parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, and consequently,
for sure, because if it wouldn't be like that, then the Second World War, before the Second World War scenario will repeat. You know, when the Soviet Union just like decided, we want our like, basically Soviet Union, they spoke with Baltic states and they said, guys, we just wanna like create bases in your countries, nothing special. We're gonna send our troops in your countries, but it's not occupation. And after a while, they say they found a purpose and they just occupied them. Next was like who, like Poland, yeah, and by little, basically everybody got like swollen. But if there would be like one big alliance, right, it wouldn't happen like that. Finland, the same happened with Finland, man. Nobody held Finland. Literally, they had to fight Soviet Union by themselves, you know. So this is what they done. You know, this alliance is just like awesome, man. This is good news, I think.
Attack occurs, each of them in exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defense recognized by Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, will assist the party or parties so attacked.
Where's that? Oh, it's New York.
With, individually and in concert with the other parties, such action as it deems necessary, including the use of armed force to restore and maintain the security of the North Atlantic area. The North Atlantic Treaty, therefore, establishes that NATO is a defensive alliance. It does not cover the scenarios of a member provoking or aggressing against another country. Article 5 cannot be invoked for such purposes. The Steadfast Defender exercise also came in direct response against Russia's increasing provocations, not only against Ukraine, but against former members of the alliance. case in point can be found in leaked Kremlin documents that were composed in the fall of 2021 by Russia's Directorate for Interregional Relations and Cultural Contacts. These documents were leaked to Swedish media in May 2023. They revealed that Russia would attempt to increase its influence over the Baltic states and reduce NATO's presence there between 2022 and 2030. In the short term, Russia sought to create new centers of influence, like NGOs, to promote closer cooperation between the Baltic states and itself, and preserve historical memory by stopping the demolition of Soviet-era monuments. NATO and its relations with the Baltic states is a key area of focus for the Kremlin, stopping NATO's plans to build a permanent base in Lithuania by 20.
And Russians now are using these, those monuments of Soviet era are demolished. They are using it against us, right? Like Putin in his speech 9 May, the victory parade in Moscow, he said like they are demolishing our memory of our victory over the Nazis, So, but he doesn't consider that in the start, guys, you came here, you occupied us. What are you talking about, man? You won, okay, but you took other countries under, there was a lot of suffering because of you here in Latvia also.
2030, the militarization of Lithuanian territory, as the relevant document called it, is one of the plan's primary concerns. By 2030, Russia also aims to get the Baltic states to reverse course in their opinion on NATO. Through opinion-shaping operations, the Kremlin aims for the Baltic states to come to view NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe as potentially damaging to their national security. As such, Russia wants to stop their increasing cooperation with NATO's forward presence in Eastern Europe and gradually restore ties with these former Soviet states, including military ties. Russia plans to foster pro-Moscow politicians in the Baltic states and take advantage of the presence of the sizable ethnic Russian minorities in Estonia and Latvia. Although the documents outline plans for Russia to use soft power methods like the promotion of cultural ties and increase of cross-border investments, Moscow plans to use harder methods too. One of these is to stop the Baltic states from leaving the treaty that synchronizes their electric grids into a shared network with Russia and Belarus. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are in the process of integrating their power grids with Europe. The Baltic states plan to complete this process after a test at the end of 2025, and from that point forward, abandon the shared grid with Russia and Belarus. The Russian documents identified this plan as a threat. These documents are similar to the ones Russia drafted concerning Belarus, which some believe is an annexation plan. It is likely that the officials who wrote these documents did not know that Putin had plans to invade Ukraine, as there were no such hints, and many of their theories seem much more outlandish now than even in 2021. Nevertheless, the documents outlined Russia's general attitude of disrespect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states that had once been within the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire. Tellingly, Russia explicitly mentioned the Baltic states when responding to the NATO drills. According to the Kremlin, the alliance was using the Steadfast Defender exercise to wind up and provoke the Baltic states into a war with Russia. This is the attitude that NATO's Steadfast Defender exercises were designed in response to. It's not a coincidence that these exercises came after the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the revelation of these sorts of plans. Russia's rhetorical attempt to shift the narrative to NATO being the aggressor is not only a bid to escape scrutiny for its aggressive actions, it can also be seen as a way to shape the information environment for future moves against the Baltic states, as Moscow may claim that it's responding to a potential attack. In general, Putin has identified and viewed the Western powers as his.
That's what they said about Ukraine also, man.
And Russia's enemy, and his response to Steadfast Defender was not the first time he has attempted to create this information environment. He has repeatedly claimed that he is fighting in Ukraine because of Western aggression and threats against Russia.
Yeah,
According
man,
to the
for
ISW,
sure.
Recent Russian electronic warfare exercises in Kaliningrad may have also been more of a grey zone operation than a strict exercise. These exercises took place between December 25th and 27th, 2023, and again between January 10th and 16th, 2024. The Russian exercises reportedly caused unprecedentedly high GPS jamming in northern and central Poland, as well as in the southern Baltic area. It's in this context that NATO decided to conduct the largest exercise since the Cold War, while Steadfast Defender has.
By the way, guys, about the Cold War, I have a video you can check out in the bottom, not the bottom, and the upper corner, right? So check it out. 2 parts, very interesting.
Gone smoothly so far. The exercise comes at a time of peril for the alliance. Russia is gaining momentum in Ukraine, albeit at a high price. The Russian military has suffered enormously, but has adapted to developments on the battlefield, including with the use of drones. NATO countries have also shown vulnerability. On the day before Steadfast Defender began, the alliance reported that it would miss its overall target for spending 2% of GDP on defense, as most of the members would not hit that mark. While NATO members have increased their defense spending since 2014 and pledged to greatly increase military expenditures following the invasion of Ukraine, only 11 of the 32 members of the alliance spent at least 2% in 2023. More are expected to reach the goal this year, including Montenegro, North Macedonia, Denmark, and the newest NATO member, Sweden. However, Western European countries continue to fall short of the target, testing America's patience in the process. During a bitterly partisan presidential election, experts warn that Western Europe is running out of time to get its act together. While President Biden has been more patient, he is deeply unpopular at home, and both of his immediate predecessors were far more critical of NATO countries being free riders. There is no guarantee that his successor, whoever it is, will be as patient as he is. Furthermore, Russia has been more resilient in the face of sanctions than many in the West had hoped for. Russia's economy.
Yeah, because like a lot of Russian sanctioned companies are buying the stuff that they were buying from America. They are buying now from the companies that are located in other countries, let's say Kazakhstan or China, and like they are just finding a way around this, man. And this is a lot happening in Russia. So this is one of the reasons why they were able to maintain.
Russia has kept pace with productions of tanks, vehicles, missiles, and other pieces of military hardware. Meanwhile, many NATO allies have low stockpiles of ammunition, which have been further stressed in supplying Ukraine. This reality has caused officials from Germany, Belgium, and Sweden to warn that NATO allies have a short window to prepare for a potential war with Russia. Admiral Rob Bauer of the Netherlands, the chairman of NATO's military committee, warned that the West has grown too accustomed to peace and needs to be more prepared for conflict, which will involve the whole of society, whether we like it or not. This reveals the purpose of Steadfast Defender 2024. NATO allies are working together in a series of maneuvers of unprecedented size to prepare for a potential war, and Russia's conduct toward NATO's members and the alliance as a whole has only reinforced the need for preparedness. The results of Steadfast Defender will undoubtedly be discussed and analyzed at the 2024 NATO summit to be held in Washington between July 9th and 11th. These results will likely be the foundation for future exercises and a general transition of the alliance toward a state of further readiness for conflict. Overall, Steadfast Defender is a sign of the times. NATO officials have warned that Western countries had become complacent in the belief that history had ended in 1991,